In today's video, I want to talk about the effects that a breakup has on the brain and why exactly it feels the way it does. Let's get into it. So, after a breakup, your brain receives a lack of neurotransmitters. Okay, so that means it's lacking a few hormones that you had an increase of just from being in that relationship, such as dopamine. You receive more dopamine while you're in a relationship, being around that loved one. So when someone breaks up with you and gets away from you, your brain doesn't really know how to handle it. So for your brain, it can't really tell the difference between someone leaving you and someone dying. So it's that the immediate decline of these neurotransmitters and these hormones that cause you to feel so bad because dopamine is in control of your mood and motivation. Okay. So when someone leaves unexpectedly or someone hurts you in some way, you receive a withdrawal on dopamine, which can feel like a drug addict who is just off heroin. It can make you do crazy things. It'll make you be desperate. It'll make you do anything because of this withdrawal. But the same can also be said for serotonin. Now, serotonin affects your sleep, your eating habit, and movement. Okay, the same as dopamine, kind of, but it controls the sleep day and night cycle. So when you break up with somebody, you have a decline in serotonin, which can explain why your appetite might go and why your sleep may be affected for a while afterwards. But yes, serotonin is also a big one. Usually people get serotonin from like exercising and working out. The same can be said for dopamine. This can all be made up for a fact without a partner. So even though in the initial hit that you're going to feel horrible and you're probably going to feel horrible for a few days, it's fine. It's going to be okay because your brain will regulate itself again. But yeah, serotonin is pretty good. Dopamine's pretty good, and humans get addicted to it because our brain becomes so used to functioning with that amount of dopamine and serotonin in it. So that's how that works. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you'll get an increase of these, which will higher your tolerance and higher your appreciation for it. So then when it's gone and stripped away, it feels like you're not only grieving the person, but you're grieving the feeling that they used to give you. The chemicals in your brain won't produce it. The neurotransmitters just simply won't produce the feel-good chemicals such as dopamine and serotonin. But what will increase is cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone, which is it's what it's often called. But yeah, the stress hormone can do a lot. It can make you stay up later. It makes you more panicked. It makes you more anxious. So not only do you get a decrease in your dopamine and serotonin, but you also get an increase on your cortisol. Now that does affect you heavily. It can feel at times like your body is being compressed because of this, but you'll be all good, king or queen. So to go a little bit more deeper about the cortisol. So cortisol is produced in the adrenal gland, which is this part. It's on the upper part of your kidney, okay? Cortisol also controls your day and night cycle the same way serotonin does. But cortisol travels through your bloodstream. So it takes that, it constricts the blood flow, it controls blood pressure. It does do a lot, to be honest. And it is produced in your kidney, in the adrenal gland. Cortisol also controls your fight or flight response. So when you're feeling like a certain way about the breakup, the cortisol kind of dictates how you react to it. Either fight or flight. You'll be all good because eventually your brain does even out. So after a breakup, it may feel, this is like the initials, right? So you'll receive that, and that all in one go. And that'll affect you for a while, but it does get better. Your brain does regulate itself. I usually give it about 3 months for your brain to get back to the normal producing levels. But that's what happens with those three. Now, I want to talk about another feel-good chemical, which is which is the be all end all, okay? Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about my friend. So this is my friend, oxytocin, okay? So oxytocin is a crazy fucking chemical, okay? It makes you feel so good, okay? Now this is an actual, you can buy this on the market as well. It's called Oxycontin. You may have heard of it. It's a lot underground right now, but you may have heard of Oxycontin. So oxytocin is not the same, but it's naturally produced in your body, okay? It is often called the love hormone because it is created and produced by having social bonds and getting attachments, okay? So this is why at the beginning of your relationships, it feels so good. You feel so good about yourself. You feel like you're on top of the world. You're the fucking best. You fucking top shagger, okay? This makes you feel on top of the world. Now, as you can see, it's much more complicated chemically than dopamine and serotonin. And that just speaks about what type of feel good chemical this is. Now, oxytocin is connected to, well, it's not connected, well, it is, it's connected and controls your nervous system, okay? So it's very, very debilitating when you do have a lack of oxytocin. And because your body was already producing so much while in the relationship, you felt so good, blah, blah. The complete depletion of the oxytocin wipes you out, okay? Now, this can cause physical pain, okay? So, oxytocin is produced in the thalamus, okay? Which is on the frontal lobe. So it's produced in your frontal lobe and then sent by the pituitary gland, which is a small bean-sized part of your brain connected to the base, or not the base, but like the stem, okay? And that sends it straight into your bloodstream. So it constricts your blood vessels and just sends the hormone out, which makes you feel so good for a long while. It feels like someone is giving you a big hug. But that's only because the oxytocin is produced that way. So it is produced by physical intimacy, social bonding. You can get it off. When you were younger, you used to get it off your family members. So when like one of your parents hugged you, or your grandparents, or your brother or sister, oxytocin would be what would be produced when you were younger. And as you're getting older, you figure out that you can create oxytocin with other people besides family. So oxytocin, when creating it with someone else, can create like fantasies and falsehoods of them. To the point where you're building this person up so much, because when you're around them, you are quite literally on oxytocin. If I could hang out with someone and they just handed me Oxycontin, you best believe I'm hanging out with them every day, you know? So that's why you get so attached and why you get so committed to being with them. Is because the high production of oxytocin that's in your bloodstream. My oxytocin is produced in animals to stop them from eating their young, essentially. But because humans are so developed and we have these concepts of emotional relationships and building these foundations and creating a story and all this here, goes back to the larger in life characters. Oxytocin for us is, I think people get confused with the whole concept of love. Quite literally, it's in the name, the love hormone. With this, because this really does boost you. It gets your mood up. It makes you feel healthier. You feel like you're waking up for a purpose. You know what I mean? So after a breakup and you have the complete lack of this, you might feel some physical pain because it is connected to the nervous system. So the sinking feeling in your chest, or the actual physical pain in your stomach, or even the sensation of being crushed, is all because of the oxytocin. Now, as I said earlier in this video, your brain can't tell the difference between someone leaving you and someone dying, okay? So after a breakup, you do get 5 stages of grief. After a breakup, or losing somebody, these are the 5 stages of grief, okay? So it doesn't always go in this order exactly. Sometimes it can feel like a loop. You're getting trapped, you're getting better, you accept, and then you're back to square one again. You're going down in the loop. Or sometimes it can feel like a pitch you're in, and you can't really get out. It takes you a while. You're hopping in between the different stages of grief. but eventually you do get out. And for some people, it is just A to B. Okay, so these are the 5 stages of grief. I've written down a few examples for what it can feel like and what you're saying to the other person. So the first stage of grief is denial. Okay, so when you start losing the oxytocin, the serotonin, and dopamine, your brain automatically goes in denial. It starts saying things like, "This can't be happening. This can't be the case. This must be a mistake." Things like that. Things amongst those lines. And that's denial. Okay, which most people do. I think it takes about. It can take for however long to get out of that stage, for any of these stages anyway. But usually, I give it about 3 days until the denial phase starts to wear off. Okay. Then you get the anger, right? Okay. Now, a lot of people go from denial to anger really quickly. And what I mean really quickly is in the span of minutes. Okay. So anger can come out in a lot of different ways. It can come out in petty ways. It can come out in like physical ways. Not to the person though, because I don't think they would. If you're a good person, you wouldn't get physical with anybody over a disagreement like this, or getting over a breakup like that. It's not worth getting physical over. But what happens most of the time is they say not nice things to each other to try and get over it, or they'll blame some external figure just to try and make sense of it. So instead of going, "Oh, well, they didn't really mean that. It's just because of their fucking stupid friend or something." You know what I mean? Like trying to find an excuse so they can stay in the denial phase, okay? Then you have bargaining, which is, "Baby, please, baby, please, I know it's over." Which I think everyone's fallen victim to once or twice. The just desperation and the sadness that comes from a breakup. And also, especially if that person is like pulling you along a wee bit, saying things like, "I miss you," or "I love you, but we can't be together," and stuff like that. That can always bring you into the bargaining phase. But a lot of people stay stuck there, which is why you have things as situationships and all that shit, which is genuinely nothing. A situationship is nothing. You literally have nothing. It's not a good situation to be in. That's why it's called a situationship. So after the bargaining phase, right, you go down. Now it's depression. You know it's Jover. It's Joe over. It's not Joe ever. It's Jover. It's fucking Jover. This is when you start listening to Smiths and fucking Radiohead. This is when you're going to kill yourself. Actually, can I say that? I don't know. This is when you're going to hang it. No, I can't say that either. This is when you're going to game end yourself. Yeah, so the pain is just so unbearable. And on top of that, you have the physical stuff from the depletion of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and the increase in your cortisol, which overall just makes you depressed. Okay. And then what comes is acceptance. Accepting that it's over and that things won't be the same. Now, what a lot of people do in this acceptance phase is they'll double down on bad habits. And they'll not really try and find out anything about themselves. What I would say is when you're over the depression phase and the acceptance comes, try and reflect a wee bit more. Now that there's more time separating it between you and the relationship, just try and reflect over what you did, what they did, what the relationship actually was. Because while you're in the relationship, you might create this false narrative or this false story, and that the other person just simply was never even a part of. Just all fantasy that comes to your head. But with the acceptance, you should be trying to work on yourself a little bit more. Trying to get into hobbies that you used to like, going back to the gym, driving your fucking car. I don't know, do something, dog. Because it is what it is. It is what it is. And that's what's written on the board here. It is what it is. But when you do break up with someone, it does feel like you've lost a loved one, like a close family relative or something. And it's just the pain that that person's put you through. And you have to remember that pain. Because see, if you're past this part and you're at acceptance, you can never go back to bargaining. You can never go back to depression. You can never go back to denial or anger. See, once you get to here, stay here. So, what's my point? What's my point? Let me write it out here. See any thoughts that you have that you might get back together? No, they're not happening. That's just simply a fantasy that you're building for yourself, because it would be nice if they came back. It would be nice if they were into you as well. It would be nice if you were into them, but it's just not. It's not the case. And the only thing you're doing by leading on your ex or getting back together with your ex is stopping your own progress. You've announced to everyone in the world that you are done progressing, and that you're willing to just go back to an old behavior pattern and somebody who made you go through all of these stages of grief, just to get back together with you after they've had their fun. So it is always good to keep this in mind, because if you're going through a breakup and you're watching this video, you're probably aware of this. You're probably feeling it. And you're probably in the stages of it if you're watching this video. God knows who's watching these videos. You could leave a like, leave a comment as well, because I don't really know what to talk about. Well, I do, but it'd be good to get some ideas from you. Subscribe as well. Subscribe. Anyway, yeah. So my main advice is just don't get back together with your ex. Think about what I said to you about the dopamine, serotonin, cortisol, the fucking oxytocin. Look at the griefs, the 5 stages of grief that you've probably went through, and just remember who made you feel that way. Okay, just remember who made you feel that way, and why they made you feel that way. Okay. You shouldn't demonize your ex. You shouldn't think. You can be understanding. You can love your ex, but you can never be with them again. That is just a closed door. You should never get together with them again. They've left you in either this state, that state, or they've made you have that journey from A to B. Okay, and it's just simply not worth it. Now, am I saying you would be better off if you did lose a loved one? Maybe, because your loved one didn't choose to leave you. You get what I'm saying? And if you're on the opposite end of this and you've broke up with someone and you're going through the bargaining chips, at least you did it. You know what I mean? You found that you weren't working out and you decided to actually do something about it, which is respectable. You knew what you wanted and you knew it wasn't them, which is fair. And you're probably going through the same thing right now, or not. It really depends on the relationship and the connection that you built. But even when you're ending the relationship, you will go through these 5 stages of grief, whether you want to or not. It's either you go through them early or you go through them in a couple of months' time. And it's just bad. I know it's easier said than done to not get back together with your ex. And yeah. At the end of the day, it's just an advice from a guy from the internet. You don't have to follow it, but I'm just going to say this to you. 90% of people who get back together with their ex break up within a year. So I'll just leave you with that to think on. I couldn't even get that. So yeah, good video, guys. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye. Remember to subscribe. Remember.